Right. But I think right now is a perfect time to get started. Anyone who joins in afterwards will just let in. And of course, as you guys know, we upload these videos afterwards onto YouTube. So with that being said, we could get started. Um, well, welcome everyone to webinar 48, I believe, already 48. It's been a while. It's been a couple months, I think. And so I know that there's a lot that we haven't talked about, but I'm really excited because with the new year, I know a lot of people are making moves and changes with their business, so it's always great to hear what people have been up to. I also received a bunch of questions today from our people that were interested in attending the webinar and wanted to know more about either print on demand or other questions regarding their business. But for today, we will be covering kind of the trends for print on demand industry in general and what you should prepare for and what to look out for as you decide to develop your business for this year and look to make some improvements, as well as just keeping up to date with what's been updated and what people are predicting and forecasting for this year. I think that with the print-on-demand industry, we've been seeing a lot of growth, and that growth has been shown to be still very surprising, especially after we know the events that happened back in 2020. Ever since then, a lot of more consumers are purchasing items online. It's just something more convenient for them. It lets them access goods that they don't have access to regularly. And so we're expecting an estimated 25% growth of the general print-on-demand industry as whole in terms of how much profit it makes. Now, this sounds really lucrative and it sounds very promising. I think that one of the interesting clauses with that is that you will have more competition. That means you need to stay on top of the trends, stay on top of how you could develop your business even further, as well as making sure you're providing important aspects such as social proof on your website or your store. Another item is just making sure that you're utilizing the programs that help you best serve your customers as well. You also need to adapt to consumer shifts, such as what your customers are looking for in their stores and what they expect from you as a store owner. So there's going to be some points that we'll talk about that resonated from last year, but there's also going to be some more developments that I think for this year is especially important now that we're talking about a larger scale of print on demand as big as it ever was. And if you're new to my webinars, I just want to introduce myself before we get into it. Sorry, I forgot about that part. But my name is Lindsay, and I work here at Lumaprints. I am one of the marketing analysts here. And behind me, you'll see is my manager, Sarah. She's also the director of marketing. So here we work a lot with customers. And while we took a bit of a break this season for webinars, it's because we've been working with a lot of our customers who've seen a lot of success this holiday season. So it's been great talking to customers, seeing what's worked for them, what hasn't, what has made them kind of skyrocket. And I hope to share some of that insight a little bit with you because ultimately we want to help other customers lift themselves up and we see what works for some of our customers. And, it's kind of one of those interesting things we, as the print on demand provider, are able to see that we can hopefully bring that knowledge to you guys. And so in forecast of 2025, I think we need to talk more about how consumers are leaning in more into online shopping. And while there is competition, I think what will make you stay ahead of the game is definitely the effort you take into personalizing your store and really emphasizing the human aspect of you yourself as the store owner and as the brand as well. Ultimately, there are many stores that might sell art that sell goods and themes such as yours, but I think what will make you distinctive and people will lean more into purchasing from your store is definitely providing things such as testimonials, items such as biographies on your website, some things that allow people to be reassured that who they're buying from is a person behind that screen, behind that storefront, and it's not just some drop shipping, website that has lack of care or need for their customers. So there is definitely, I would say, a difference in efforts you will see with people starting up their print-on-demand store. Some people will put something up and see what hits. Other people will take a bit more time to refine their online stores, and you will definitely see that rewarded, I will say. It's one thing to start a print-on-demand store, it's one thing to make it successful. And so with some of these ideas in mind, I also wanted to cover what can make your store successful and what will help you get ahead of that. Some of the trends that you'll see this year is definitely, not just personalized stores, but you also see personalized products. So some of the things we'll talk about a little bit later in the discussion is how you can create personalized products to best serve your customers and to also cater to a customer base that, is looking for something very particular. And I know that for some people, it sounds a lot like commission style. There is commission style, of course, and that will always be popular, but there's also other ways you can make it a little bit easier on yourself as a creator and as an artist. So we'll talk a bit more about that. But first, we can get into the technological aspects of how you can prepare your store for 2025. Um, I made hints of it earlier, but personalization and also automation is a very big factor. And I know some people are kind of hesitant when they hear the word automation. I just want to rest assured that it's oftentimes programs that just make the purchase a lot easier for your customer. So whether it's recommending them products on your storefront that you think not you think, but that the storefront will believe is more adaptable to your customer. For example, say your customer is looking for a red image and they are voting well with images that are red, then the automated program will pick up on that and start curating the search engine and also the product pages to emphasize red imagery. So it's small little tweaks like that you can add to your store that will definitely see a lot of rewards because customers, as we know, and as if you looked in the back end analytics, you'll know that customers may spend a few minutes, if that, on your store. You want to make sure that your impact is as potent as it can be in the first few seconds of them being on your store. So making sure that your website adjusts and abides to your customers' needs accordingly in live time is very important. Sure, you can have a really refined SEO and key terms search engine on your website. It could be even very advanced, but it's also a matter of making sure that your product pages are also changing and developing in live time as they gather more information about your customer. And I made mention about this last year too. And one of the key caveats to this is that you have to make sure your customer is aware that you are taking this type of information from them because, for example, in the state of California, this needs to be acknowledged on the website and they have to be able to accept before things such as cookies and retaining info and understanding that info from your customers' activities on your website is something that needs to be showcased and needs to be made aware on their end. So as long as you utilize these programs ethically, and by that ethically, I mean you are being very transparent with your customer as to what you're doing, it should be good and in fact great for your customer because they will also see the result of that, which is finding a product that they need a lot faster. Another item is just personalizing emails. And I know that sounds a little corny, or it might sound like you've heard this before, but honestly, a personalized email does go a long way, whether you're doing a sale or you're offering a customer an email receipt. Something as simple as acknowledging their name in the header is a way to just make it feel a lot more personable. And then signing off with your name and signature too just makes it feel like, okay, this person cares about their customer, they care about their branding, and the person that's attached to this brand is also very invested in this store. It's not just a simple receipt or just a easily, easy sale. But if you personalize your sales and you make your emails overall more personable, it'll just give people a more warming invitation to want to purchase from your store once more and just have a better association. It'll also let them remember your brand a bit more because if they are relating to things in either your subject matter or in your header or in your, email body, it's going to retain that information of like, hey, I had a connection on this email and it was from this brand in particular. Because as we know, you'll buy online all the time from stores like Amazon or your local grocery store, or things like that. And, you get a lot of receipts all day, every day. But when people do make those purchases, say it's art, they probably are expecting a bit more personability because ultimately people are decorating their homes with art you made. And so connecting the two is vital in letting people have a good association with not only you, but your brand. And the last important, I think, automated item that I would highly suggest for any customer is definitely heat maps, which there are plenty of programs that offer heat maps, and if you haven't looked into it, it's worth investing some time to choose the best heat map for you. But overall, heat maps allow you to see where your customers are oftentimes clicking or hovering their mouse over on your website on whichever page it's on, whether it's the home page or a product page. If you notice your customers are oftentimes clicking on one page all the time, maybe you should consider adding that page into an integrated part of your homepage. If it's, say, the catalog page, maybe highlight some products on the storefront's homepage a bit more predominantly than, say, a header. So there's ways you can utilize the heat map for your analytic needs, but the idea is that you're improving your website to get your customer from point of purchase and to checkout. So if you get them quicker there, it's all the better. And also recommending products as a result as well. If you notice people tend to buy two things together as a result of the heat map or other analytics that kind of come with heat maps, then you'll know that you want to make sure that you're advertising one product if it's often bought with the other, and vice versa. As for the change in consumer behavioral shifts, um, as of late, people are becoming a bit more aware of their impact on the environment. And oftentimes you'll see people not trying to be wasteful when it comes to their purchases, which is a great thing. I think as we are becoming a bit more aware of like the landfills and the environmental impact and global warming, you want to leverage, I would say, the ability that print on demand has that other industries don't have. And what print on demand offers is made to order. And you could definitely let people know, like with every product that you purchase, it's being made to order, so there is no waste of product. There's no product being thrown into the trash because there was no sales. Your product is going to be made and it's going to be for you, and there's no waste in that kind of production cycle or excess waste, of course. And so if you let your customers know that you are also cognizant of, what holding stock and inventory is like and how that could at times be wasteful, and let them know that print on demand is a great alternative to making sure that their, I would say, environmental impact is minimized. That's definitely a way to go. As well as consider that Lumaprints, we ourselves are here in the US. We are able to leverage the fact that we only ship within the US. Therefore, the cost of travel and in terms of carbon footprint is a lot less than people who drop ship items from overseas, then that have to go over through ships or air. So for us, we are sustainable in the fact that it's domesticated works going to our nearby neighbors. For example, we have a place here in Anaheim and we cater to mainly West Coast. And then we also have another location in Louisville, Kentucky, which caters to East Coast. So we have two facilities here, and that limits the transit time and transit consumption. That's another way you could leverage as well how sustainability is in tandem with your store. We've also noticed that in 2025, there has been an interest in personalized products. As I mentioned before, personalization is a big key factor in bringing yourself ahead of the curve. And one of the, I would say, cuter themes that a lot of people have been really into as of late is pets. With a lot of investments being done over the years, people are consuming more and more pet goods for their love furry friends. And even, for example, in 2023, Americans just Americans alone has spent over $100 billion on pet-related items. And so that's a massive market to cater to, especially as you see customers trying to shift their purchases with dogs and cats and other pets into not only their foods and toys, but they're also investing in luxury items and items that have a picture of their dog or a picture of their cat or whatever pet they may have. And personalized art for pet owners is not only great for the pet owners themselves to purchase, but it's also something that you may and yourself may have purchased for a friend. Because, if you ever wondering, oh, what should I buy for my friend? They love their dog. Let me give them something related to their pet. That's oftentimes what people do. And so it's a huge industry, and I could only foresee it becoming more popular as a lot of the younger generation who are very attached to their pets, and rightfully so, will start purchasing more elevated products for said pets. Another big trend that I think people should be aware of is how book and literature is very predominant in the landscape of online spaces and online communities. If you guys have spent any time on TikTok, there's such a thing as book talk and also sharing recommended art pieces and not art pieces, sorry, books. And in turn, people have been making art related to said books, either taking inspirational quotes from it, taking a pivotal scene and kind of making that into their own piece of art. All of these things related to book and literature just tends to gravitate people because people already have a strong connection with these books, as you can imagine. They evoke strong feelings for whoever is reading it. And so making art related to it, people want to decorate their homes with the things they love and the hobbies they enjoy. I would say more than ever, a lot of people who read books and the ever-growing community of people who read books is becoming very prominent, as well as the community that is like sharing said love and admiration for books. So there's definitely a niche there that I think if you have the ability to explore, say you yourself are a lover of literature and love reading modern fiction, I'd highly suggest looking into if you have that creative zeal, then to go into creating art that you're inspired by and that you enjoy from your books and your literature. As for other niches, we can cover just to get kind of through the smaller ones or subsects. There's some I would suggest are, as I mentioned, pet related items. There's also social cause items and merchandise. So for whatever, whether it's political or environmental or any other subsect, social causes has been on the rise and people want to kind of brand themselves with the things that they're passionate about. If you yourself have your passion within one of those types of genres, then it's worth making art for that as well, because it evokes very strong emotions, as you can imagine. And if you care about it, it's worth making art about it, as we know. Another thing is couples pieces or pieces that have connections with families. If you ever been on Etsy or other stores, you know that people love making maps to show where everyone is in the globe in terms of like, oh, here's my uncle, here's my grandma, here's where my kids are. So those types of personalizations are very common, as well as the long distance couples types of art pieces are also a big up and coming product as well. Humor and meme-based products and designs are also always trendy and are more trendy now than ever. People, if you understand the social media and internet culture as it is now, you'll know that, sometimes people love buying really interesting and ironic pieces of art that is related to the online landscape. So it's worth, if you know it and you understand it, make some art of it. Again, professions are always big. Hobbies, health, and fitness, as well as astrology. There are many niches and there is no shortage of them. It's a matter of like what you feel you're more in tune with and how you can kind of grow that further. I know that last year we saw a huge boom in holiday related art. Things like Santa Clauses and trees and winter landscapes are huge. So if you want to prepare yourself ahead of the curve for the holiday season, it's worth starting, I would say, at the very least sometime in August, whether that's creating art or starting to prepare sales, because oftentimes you'll find people purchasing the art starting all the way in October and into the late November. Um, let's see. Another very important, big section that we've seen, both in regular online stores and also in brick and mortar stores. So any store that you walk into, we noticed that not only holidays related items are popular, but music related items and food themed items. So these are really random niches, but me myself, whenever I enter a store, say you enter, a place that has home decor, I noticed that cake related items, cupcake related items, wall art of food is very popular. You'll notice that people love buying ceramics and beautifying their kitchen. Wall art is no exception. So if you could think of artwork that bodes well with someone's kitchen, that's also a great avenue to go towards. So again, a lot of niches, a lot of things to look into, but those are some things that we noticed that have been doing well and are forecasted to do well in the future. Let's see. As we kind of just to summarize, sustainability is really big. bringing that to the forefront of your store, as well as looking into some new niches as possible. And I think the important part about these said niches is that I'm listing them all, but an important factor is making sure that you understand the culture within said niche before you start selling towards that niche and making sure you're finding yourself and your store to lend itself to it. Nonetheless, with America's consumers primarily, you're going to see a huge growth in consumers purchasing. But again, with the variety of people selling online, you just want to make sure you stay ahead of the curve by leveraging your automated programs and also making sure you're very in tune to the subsection of culture in that niche. And then some additional takeaways is in general is just be authentic. I think there's going to be some questions asked later in this presentation regarding, how do you do in a, or let me rephrase it. What's the best way to navigate a space where we're noticing a deep saturation of art and products that feel like they are repetitive or it's like the same listing but done 20 times on an Etsy, for example? How can we stay ahead of that and how can we improve ourselves so we're not just part of the internet where a lot of the internet is being consumed by products that honestly, you don't know who made it, you don't know where it's from, and all that. And it's just, there's a large volume, and I would say there's a lot of noise online. How do we kind of stay ahead of that? And I think one of the biggest factors is just making sure you're being authentic and humanizing your products and your storefront at the end of the day by making sure that you yourself, as much as your brand, is a forefront of your store. So even if you're shy, even if you don't want to, necessarily show your face, as long as you're able to at least showcase that there is a person writing these product descriptions that are being part of these email blasts, and it's a person that wrote this, people will definitely read that out. Um, and speaking of, I kind of wanted to go into the questions and answers to kind of discuss this. Someone asked in because we do Google Forms, by the way, if you guys don't know, and the email that I send out regarding these webinars, um, there's a Google form where you can ask questions. And so to answer the first question that was asked was, my print sales have dropped drastically as of late, and I wonder if artificial intelligence has something to do with this. And honestly, it's a very interesting question, and I could understand the concern that not only this person, but many other people can have. And if you're keeping up with news and technology overall, you'll know that the internet is developing at a very exponential rate, and that a lot of content is being generated and a lot of content is being scraped and recycled by bots. And the main issue really is just how much content is bloating the internet, if you will. And we're already experiencing a high influx of content that oftentimes feels a little lackluster, and with every right, because it's just recycled and repetitive. So I think, a prime example of that would be if you ever go on to Google yourself, or what people tend to do is if they want to search up something, they'll ask the question and then they'll type at the end Reddit. And it's because they want people's testimonials. They want to hear from a user and a person with thoughts and feelings of their own and not just a bot's response and quick answer to something. And that just lets you know that people still crave for connection online, and it's something that you could definitely leverage yourself. And I could say that while there are many reasons why your sales may be dipping, I think the internet becoming saturated is a very plausible concern. And so the best way to circumvent this is definitely, again, utilizing technology in a way that feels authentic to you still. So programs that automate and make the business part easier is one thing. It's another thing to make sure that the actual content of itself is authentically you. So definitely improve your store by automating customer service, representative tickets, and making sure customers get their answers really quickly. But also in that same scope, make sure that when they do need, for example, more help with their question for your store, then that question could go to you. So you can't rely completely on automation and technology for your storefront. There still needs to be a human aspect and a human person behind that, whether it's you as the store owner or someone who helps you out in your store. But ultimately, I think whatever you can do to enhance your store with technology, in the same breath, whatever makes that easier for you to run your store, use that effort that you save, you know, automating all that and put it into your art and also put it into making sure that your customers connect with you on your storefront. And as I said, there is a lot of noise online right now, but please be rest assured that the content that is being churned out so much these days is oftentimes not content people want to connect with. And ultimately, they are more strongly um, bonding with content that is usually made by a person at the end of the day. And if you keep up with technology, it can improve your business, and you want to keep ahead of that noise because of said technology. But utilizing it to the best of its potential is a great way to also keep up with it, if you will. I hope that makes sense. I know that there is a lot of nuances to this discussion, and I am very much a proponent of utilizing technology, but also making sure that the work is authentically yours at the end of the day. Make things easier, but at the same time, there should be some effort made so your customers are aware of who's the store owner and who's the brand. And then moving on to the next question, what are the best platforms for selling art right now? And what are some up and coming marketplaces to watch? And um, my first initial reaction to that is usually Shopify. And after looking into over half of the storefronts online are Shopify, and with good reason too. They offer a flat rate and you can put as many products as you want. I think there's a certain cap, but that's after you put over 100 listings or something. So don't worry about that. It's also great for beginners because they offer a lot of presets and they also kind of guide you in how to improve your business. So it's definitely great for beginners. However, if you're 100% green to selling online in general, Etsy is also a viable option, as well as other marketplaces that allow you to sell your art on a marketplace more so than on your own domain. This is because at least people could search within the search engine and possibly come across your products, as opposed to you having your own domain, such as a Shopify, where you would have to funnel your customer base organically through either Google or other search engines or through marketing. And you probably would need to have a bit more experience with SEO and marketing strategies to be able to do so. Because it's one thing to start up your store on your own domain. It's the next step is definitely how do you bring customers in? And that is oftentimes the biggest pain point for customers or for our customers, sorry. And so even starting off with a marketplace such as an Etsy and then transitioning into Shopify allows you to basically have training wheels to before you take flight into running your own store. As for up and coming marketplaces, I know we made small mentions of this last year, but it's still very relevant. And if not, it's already a big thing. And that is the TikTok shop and other social media platform storefronts. And the reason why TikTok shop is very relevant right now is because what's interesting about them is that they allow a seamless experience for the viewer to turn into your customer because they don't have the thing where if you click on a product, for example, on the TikTok, that it won't take them to another website or another window in general, but rather it will stay integrated within TikTok, which is very interesting and something other social media platforms are also trying to keep up with. But the idea is that someone could be on the same app, see something that they really like, and then come out with a purchase and not even have to leave that app. And what that allows for is for you to be able to sell things and see what hits. It allows for immediate response time and as well as being able to create content and being able to see sales as a result of making said content. And what only caveat I would say is be mindful is that you do need a storefront pre-made before you go into making a social media storefront, if you will, because it needs to connect to your storefront that is outside of your website. What TikTok Shop and other websites or social media platforms do is that they basically connect one with the other. So it's a seamless transition and they don't have to leave, but it's still a purchase made on, for example, your Shopify. And so the next question is Lumaprints considering adding other print-on-demand types of products, such as mugs and t-shirts? Um, for that, I think that while we're always looking for offering different products for our customers, we've primarily stayed within wall art as that is our specialty. We specialize in the inks, the prints, and the quality when it comes to print on demand. And wall art has been very successful for us, and we've done really well with it. We won't ever say that we won't explore something new, and we won't ever say we will never explore like products mentioned above. It's just that right now we are focusing our efforts on creating the strongest selection of art prints for your needs. And this includes canvas, fine art paper, peel and stick, and metals. So we do have a wide array of products already, but as you can tell, it's primarily wall art. And we've been doing really strongly with that, sourcing the products and making sure that we're offering you guys really quality items to you. The next question is, let's see, what are the best social media spaces to promote print on demand? And honestly, I would say it really does boil down to who your customers are because each social media in of itself has its own ecosystem of culture and it also has a predominant demographic that you would cater towards. So I'll break down kind of like the general idea between the top three most relevant social media platforms today, and you can make your decision from there. But keep these in mind, and also know that you shouldn't limit yourself to just one of these social media platforms. As I'll explain later, there's flexibility with being able to utilize one piece of content, but just direct it towards all three of these, as an example. The first one being Facebook. Facebook is probably one of the older social media websites, and it has developed a lot over the years. Back then, give or take 10 years ago, it was definitely the hub to be if you're a teen or a young adult in college. It was very popular amongst friends, but now these days it's developed a lot more advanced. And it's not only an essential place for you to talk to your friends, but it's also a great place to congregate with family and keep up with communities and create groups and uh, enhance your experience in your hobbies by virtue of being on Facebook and joining groups, for example. For now, the primary demographic for Facebook is adults ranging ages 25 to 34, as well as older adults. There is also a lot of group pages that center around people's interests and hobbies that emphasize community discussion and trends. So if you find yourself in a niche where you do cater to said demographic, it's worth looking into Facebook groups because you could kind of see what the general culture is like for whatever niche your art is related to. So it's very useful in that aspect, and it's also a very steady website so far, I would say. And we'll talk more about the other ones, and you'll kind of know what I mean by steady. As for the next one, it's Instagram, and Instagram is probably one of the biggest platforms here in the US. So many people use it. It'd be very, it's actually, if someone doesn't have an Instagram, you're like, what? So it's a very popular website, and its appeal is amongst all age groups, and that's something that is very notable about it. So while there is probably maybe a lack of community, such as Facebook groups, there is a large range of ages, and there's also a very popular type of content format that you could definitely cater to, which is not TikTok, sorry, it's Instagram Reels and video content in general. As we know, Instagram is trying to compete with the next social media platform that I'm going to talk about with video content, and they're trying to grab your attention. And one of the ways you can definitely leverage yourself on Instagram is creating more so. Um, I would say video content, and this could be content of any kind as long as it's engaging. So whether it's you showing your sped up working process of your art, or it's you kind of showing the business side of your art, people are always interested. They are curious people at the end of the day, and they want to know more about you as a person, especially if you do video content. It allows for more avenues for people to connect with you. And this could kind of harken back to social proof as well. If people see you painting the art and then they see the art print posted on your store, there's also like that mind and or the thing going back in their head, like, oh yeah, I saw this person make it and it looked really cool when they were making it, and seeing the process was magical. And so they tend to also want to buy it even more so. So video content on Instagram is definitely the next move for you if you haven't done so already. And I know that for some people it's like, oh, well, I don't know, I don't like showing my face or I'm a little shy. Honestly, you can make content without showing your face or showing much of yourself, and it could still be engaging. It's just a matter of like making sure you find something that just works and clicks with your audience and resonates with them. And as for, I would say making the same content but for different platforms. We'll talk a bit more about it after this one, which is TikTok. And as we know, it's one of the largest, most emerging platforms as of now. And something notable about it is that its consumer range is age range is teens and young adults. They're the primary demographic there. You'll often find that it's mainly that age group. I would say probably from 13 to 24, give or take. And you'll find that the app's algorithm is really interesting. If you haven't been on it, something very noteworthy about it is that small users or users who just started can easily blow up overnight. With given how spontaneous and fast the algorithm is, a lot faster than other platforms, you often find that it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you can boat yourself with the trends on TikTok and you can make a huge profit, but at the same time, that trend could die down. So there's sometimes no longevity to said trends. But it could create the initial boost that you may need to start up a store or to bring some sales in and probably bring some long-term customers. So there is some pros and cons to TikTok's algorithm and the quickness of trends that happen there. As I mentioned before, TikTok Shop is also a very lucrative aspect of TikTok that's worth looking into. And I know that a lot of people are hesitant about it now, especially as we know that earlier this year it was actually closed down. Now it's open back up, which is great, but all to say is that there's still some potential there, and I don't want you to feel restricted in not choosing it because you feel like, oh, well, it might close down in the future. That's very possible, but you could still make a lot of interactions and bring in some new customers from that platform in the moment. And even if this TikTok doesn't, stay around for long, at least you have created a new customer base from there, and they could follow you into your other social media platforms if ever. So all to say is that even when you decide to make content for one of these platforms, you could definitely make that same content and just make sure you leverage it to each one if you want to share it across different social media platforms. The same post you're going to make on TikTok will probably not be the same one you'll post on Facebook, but it could be the same video footage and it could be the same art piece. You just have to make sure that you are very cognizant of who the customer is on that specific platform. You could definitely be a bit more lighthearted, for example, on TikTok and Instagram, whereas on Facebook, you could be a bit more professional and a bit more mature, like in your talking to your customer base. It's just a matter of making sure you know your customers specifically on each website or each platform because each one is going to have a different behavior and a different overall, I would say, vibe. Um, but I think that's about it for the questions and answers. Of course, I'll open up the floor to anyone who has any questions and answers right now as well. So feel free to ask away if you like. You can either let me know in the chat or you could guys just ask here by unmuting yourselves. Okay. And then just kind of to close off the meeting, if anyone has anything to ask or is typing something up, take your time. Just so you guys know that we do host these webinars every other week, or at least we try to. I know it's been getting a little busy here, but we do want to make the effort to meet with you guys on a every 2-week basis. That way we can come up with some new topics and, bring you some knowledge that we ourselves find ourselves here at Lumaprints to best help you be more informed about what's going on with print on demand and also with Lumaprints. I know that we'll be discussing some product developments we've done here over the past few months because it's been kind of a long time coming. We've done some really cool stuff you'll find on our website. There are some new types of products. And so for me, probably in a couple weeks' time, we'll be able to kind of gather all the new information that we've been working on and provide that to you in a nice compact webinar. Additionally, if you came in halfway through the webinar, just know that these videos are uploaded onto YouTube thereafter. So if you miss any part, thank you for coming nonetheless, but we will upload these on YouTube and so you could be able to see them and whatever you missed later on. And of course, we're happy to help you guys out and I appreciate that. Thank you. And if there are no questions, we can end the meeting here.
Actually,
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
Diving a little bit more into how Meta's algorithm has changed, because I started off right before Christmas, and I got a lot of people onto my site, and I'm fixing the experience and the pricing and so on according to the information. However, the algorithm seems to have changed radically. I feel like I have to start from scratch again. Have you noticed that at all in terms of the meta algorithms having an impact?
Yes, so I think that a lot of programs such as Meta have been leveraging a lot of information scraped from the online area. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, with that, they take in so many articles, so many information from online spaces. I feel like, as I mentioned about the internet, it's bloated a lot of what's going on, and it's kind of shifting the gears in Meta, for example. What I've noticed it was primarily also with TikTok too. So there's some articles that kind of cover this, and my overall consensus is that, there has been a shift, and I think what happens is that there is going to be a huge, I would say, change here at the initial part because they are changing. They are taking into consideration different content from places they haven't utilized before. That's going to create a big shift, but it's going to plateau. I would say give it a few months' time as these new forms of gathering information kind of refine themselves and become a bit more intelligent, if you will. So you'll definitely see a lot of chaos, unfortunately, the few couple months that they decide to implement this. And I wish I was a bit more privy to what Meta did in specifically, but I know that with TikTok, at the start of this year, they decided to incorporate Meta's algorithm, surprisingly,
Hmm.
to create a shift in their algorithm and to make it quote unquote more catered towards people. But even consumers themselves acknowledged this shift and they said, hey, my algorithm feels weird. I'm looking at content that I haven't seen before and it feels odd. So you're definitely seeing other people talk about this. So you're not alone in your experience. But rest assured, I think with these types of programs, they are gonna plateau and they're gonna stabilize. And I think that's what we're gonna look for. Stability in a couple months' time, especially as people are already complaining about the huge shift in the algorithm. So at least there's something to look forward to in that aspect.
So what are you focusing on for your marketing? Because this is directly linked to us. Because this is what I love about you guys educating us as the artists and creators and shop
Mhm.
owners,
Yeah.
to support us because we have the symbiosis relationship. If we're doing great, you're doing great. If you're doing great, you can help us also do better.
Mhm.
So that's why your information is so valuable to come from the one who's act. You see the end result of the marketing that we're all doing,
Mhm.
because you're printing it. So you
Yes.
see the bottom line coming through. And so I'm just curious how you are, what strategy you have thought of on navigating through these next few months of this upheaval. What is your focus? The three things that you decided to focus on, if you had a choice, what would that be in terms of marketing?
I think that with, and this is my suggestion, with the radical shift in the algorithm, that means that, there is not going to be consistency. And that's just something we need to adjust to. And one of the things I would say you could kind of flip around and make it a positive is that you are probably having eyes that probably wouldn't have come across your store in the first place because
Mhm.
people are now working with a new algorithm. People are having content they've never seen before on their page. That means that I think you could then kind of explore new niches and maybe cater to different keywords that you probably haven't used before. So, say you do abstract pastel art. That's just a very popular niche. And for you, your customer base for the longest time has been older folks who have a certain cadence and have a certain type of style of writing and also way of looking at art, particularly. That doesn't mean that with the shift that you no longer have that customer base. It just means that maybe younger people are ending up on your page. And so how do you make your art feel a bit more in line to what they're into? And you could, for example, complement your art with more youthful items or youthful mock-ups. So I think that in this chaos and this frenzy of trying to find a stability in the algorithm, you could actually find yourself coming across people's algorithms from different parts of the world and different parts of other hobbies and niches and genres of art. So I think instead of seeing it as a negative, maybe you could see it as like, okay, there's new opportunities for growth because this is a customer demographic that is coming to me that I'm not used to, but doesn't mean I can't cater to. So I would say keep an eye out on your analytics. See who is seeing your content right now. Is there a shift from what it was last year to what it is this year? If so, maybe it's time to adjust and maybe adapt. And I think that one of the safest ways to go about that is definitely 50-50. 50% keep the old stuff that has been working for your store and has retained your first initial customer base. But the other 50, let it be the experimenting part, the fun part where you decide to explore new niches and new customer bases in a way that you haven't before.
So continuing, staying nimble, pivoting, and continuing to focusing on the opportunities that are popping
Exactly.
and finding solutions for those.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay, that's for every business.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's true. Now focus even more on it. That was very valuable. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm glad to help you guys out. And I'm glad that, you found this webinar useful. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys next time in that, we'll be talking more about Lumaprints, but these marketing ones and talking about overall how storefronts succeed and all that is always a fun topic, especially because, me and myself in marketing. So I always love seeing people's success stories, but also seeing what are the pain points and how can we rise above those. So it's great
Mhm.
hearing your feedback, and I do appreciate it. Thank you. All right. I think that's about it for today, but I appreciate you guys for coming. You're more than welcome to head out. If you have any leftover questions or you want to ask something a bit later, I will keep this video open or rather the chat open for the next 10 minutes. That way you guys could put in your last minute questions. But I think we can end it here. So I'll be seeing you guys in a couple weeks, and I look forward to see you guys then. Goodbye.